Hello, and welcome to the Plagiarism module of the Information Integrity Training Program. This course will cover a broad range of topics related to plagiarism, beginning with definitions of what plagiarism is and moving on to what plagiarism is not. Some cases of plagiarism are clear, such as when a person takes the whole content of a work that someone else wrote and claims it as their own. That is rare, but happens. Taking a whole chapter is more common and clearly plagiarism because of the scale of the copying. The definition gets less clear after that. A sentence, a phrase, a set of words can also be plagiarism depending on the circumstances. Using appropriate references to give credit to the original author allows a significant amount of copying as long as the references are clear and correct and refer to the right source. With appropriate references, copying a whole paragraph is generally unproblematic, but copying a whole paragraph without references is likely plagiarism by most definitions. Originality is important in all forms of writing, but absolute originality is not possible in any language, and may not even be reasonable as a goal when it undermines clarity and precision. Some expressions are standard in certain academic fields, especially in the natural sciences. For example, there are established phrases that describe both statistical tests and the results from such tests. In Julie Pallant's 2007 SPSS Survival Manual, page 133, she suggests, quote, "The results of the above example using Pearson's correlation could be presented in a research report as follows," end quote, and then gives the following 46-word standard phrase: "The relationship between the perceived control of internal states, parenthesis, as measured by the PCOISS, close parenthesis, and perceived stress, as measured by the perceived stress scale, was investigated using Pearson product moment correlation coefficient. Preliminary analyses were performed to ensure no violation of the assumptions of normality, linearity, and homoscedasticity." End quote. Any measurement tool that only counts the number of duplicate words in two works may mistake standard phrases for plagiarism. A simple statement of facts may also not be plagiarism. Paraphrasing typically needs to use some of the same concepts and phrases as the original, which some people regard as plagiarism. The literature contains plenty of discussion about why people plagiarize, and typically describe it as a serious ethical breach, which is true if the plagiarism were intentional. For many, the automatic assumption is that people who have been caught have plagiarized intentionally. People facing such an accusation must generally prove their innocence because of the assumption of guilt that is typical in plagiarism cases. This can be very worrying for students and for scholars, and is one of the reasons why a frequent question in research integrity seminars is how to avoid any appearance of plagiarism. There are many possible reasons why people might use text that duplicates or appears to duplicate someone else's writing. One possible reason could be that people simply have a good memory for written expressions and may unconsciously incorporate the words and phrases into their own works without realizing it. People are natural imitators. That is how we learn languages in the first place. Other plausible reasons may have to do with language deficiencies for non-native speakers who are merely looking for the correct way to say something in a foreign language. Completely accidental plagiarism is also possible when people are thinking about the same topic. The problem is that it is hard to prove. There is evidence that students in high school and in some college programs plagiarize in order to cut corners and save time, but it is risky to assume that everyone does this. Many of these attempts are crude and easily caught. One of the goals of this training program is to help students and scholars avoid the risk of a plagiarism accusation, and to help teachers, editors, and review boards to make decisions based on reliable measurements, not on prejudice and false assumptions. The risk of being caught is considerable whether the plagiarism is intentional or not, because there are excellent software tools today that can detect similar words and phrases in two different articles. Good software has controls that allow the users to decide how many duplicate words should be flagged in a segment. This is a matter of taste and judgment. Someone who is plagiarizing intentionally can simply insert additional words to make the passage look less suspicious, so a purely contiguous measure has problems. Once the software catches a case of potential plagiarism, someone must make an informed and rational decision about whether it is intentional and what the consequences should be. Some journals and professors treat plagiarism decisions as if they were black and white, meaning that a person clearly committed plagiarism or did not. But the reality is much more complex, with different types of copying and referencing that offer significant nuances. Many guidelines are available to writers and those judging them, and some universities and departments offer specific examples to help students avoid accidental plagiarism. Examples are good unless they take the extreme position that no overlap in expression can possibly be allowed, which is not realistic. The COPE guidelines attempt to provide ethical advice. Most major publishers participate in COPE and follow the recommendations insofar as they are clear. What most guidelines fail to provide are practical metrics that give some indication of the likelihood of plagiarism. Any good metrics need to take function words into consideration, technical vocabulary, and the disciplinary and cultural context. Metrics are not easy to develop and are not easy to apply, but without some form of measurement tools, judgments quickly become unreliable. This module will look at several cases where plagiarism is relatively clear and a number of cases where it is not. One of the goals is to show how to apply a provisional set of metrics. Honest error is a factor that should never be forgotten when making decisions about integrity issues. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to learn more about the topic, stay tuned and watch our next video coming up in this series, which is called What is Plagiarism?